Sure. No, you're not supposed to touch science demonstrations. That's conventional Newton, but what happens here when there are different... Oh, it's a wave. That's beautiful.
There was a point where I had thought that Bill Nye was dead because he was no longer putting out any kind of informational videos trying to teach kids about science.
Love you, Bill.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning.
He did disappear for a little bit, and everybody was like, where did the science guy go?
What is he, soil man? Who is he?
Well, we are teaching forensics, and he's our...
He's dead.
Our character.
It's the National Science Teacher Convention. These are the people, man. These are the science teachers. They're really the fans. People still watch Bill Nye the Science Guy in school. Teachers showed it in class for years and years. Greetings, greetings! It's great to see you all, and I'm very happy that, as I understand it, I've been teaching a lot of your classes this year. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, well, there it was. I heard it. Whoa, whoa.
One more, Bill. Thank you.
Right. Here we go. Hey.
Thank you.
Cool. Hey, cool. Ah, hey, blah. Go, go, go. Whoa.
3, 2.
You gotta, yeah. You don't need a countdown. Just go for it. You gotta reach out. You gotta go. You gotta turn it around. Catch up.
All right.
How hard can it be? I'm not sprinting. So reach out, man. So you're too close. I was asked to talk about selfie fatigue, and I haven't. I'm pretty sure it shortens your life.
I lost 13 years of my life in this place. The place that I never, ever wanted to return. My name is Christopher Scott. I was wrongly convicted of capital murder. I don't think I could live with myself knowing that I got a second chance at life, not to fight for the guys that still behind prison bars.
My whole life gone, man. I can't never get it back. And they gonna never come back, man. They took it. They took my whole life, man. For nothing. I ain't robbed nobody, man. I ain't killed nobody. They ain't got nothing on me, man. Nothing, man.
It'll be okay. It'll be okay. You know, we here to try to help you.
I know what God
You know what I
did,
mean?
man.
We're here to try to help
I'm
you.
free. I'm gonna tell you the truth, man. I ain't got nothing to hide, man. Nothing. I ain't got nothing to hide like in the zone.
I was young when I went to prison. I cried and wrote people pleading for help, and it fell on deaf ears. Sat in my same shoes. You wrote these type of letters for anyone to hear your plea, to acknowledge your plight and give a bit of advice. I'm an innocent man serving a life sentence. I hope to hear back from you one day. I started my own nonprofit organization trying to make a change for some of the guys in prison for crime they didn't commit. We have to kind of like contemplate if these guys are telling the truth or not.
Let me look at this. I'll get back with you on this. See what he's talking about a little bit.
I'm working with two guys who's committed to justice and who've been through what I've been through.
He's not giving us enough information. He's just telling us, I didn't do it, there was no evidence, you know.
We read their cases, we work their cases, and we try to get them out of prison. It was just too many cases like this, and it was time for somebody to do something about it. Now, Dallas County leads the nation in exonerations.
All right, what's happening?
You okay?
I'm good.
That's
I'm
good, man.
All right.
Back in that time where all of us was being convicted of these crimes, all of us fit that same type of profile. Middle-aged black guy, medium height, medium weight with a low haircut. How many people you describing when you describe it? Right. You describe it, half the black men in probably in America.
I advocate all the time, if the prosecution doesn't prove his case, well then he don't have a case. And most of our cases, the cases was not proven. They robbed us out of our life, 26 years of my life. I was robbed. All the witnesses misidentified me, every last one of them. And that's how I got the wrongful conviction.
What would it take to get you to, reopen the case or?
Automatically, you guys have credibility with this office because you've experienced it. And so we want to work with you to get to the truth.
My case happened in 1997. After 13 years, the killer came forward and confessed. His silence put me in prison, and his confession set me free. The day that they convicted me was raining, cold. It was the same day I went to prison, the same day, raining and cold, for a crime I didn't commit. You just don't know how it felt, getting on the bus, shackled. Soon as I went in, I'm seeing dudes get raped, stabbed, and everything. I wouldn't have never been put in that position if it wasn't for y'all. Why did it take you so long to confess?
But I just couldn't see how they could convict y'all because they didn't have no evidence. We made sure we got rid of the gun. There wasn't no need of me holding y'all in the penitentiary for something that y'all didn't do when I was already here anyway. This was a burden that was taken up off of my chest. I understand how hurt you is behind it. I can understand the part of your life that you lost. My nights might not been as terrorized as yours was.
No, they wasn't nowhere close to terrorized as mine.
I can understand that.
You saying, you done been in my position. No, you have not been in my position. I had a judge that asked me why she shouldn't seek the death penalty when I went to jail for y'all. And the only thing I could tell her is, how can you kill an innocent man? I don't know if she felt like I actually did it or not, but she just didn't want to kill nobody that day. And I'm glad she didn't, because I probably wouldn't be here talking to you right now, getting this off my chest, trying to get some closure. I got taken away from my kids a long time. They was kids, man. And to see how they struggled without their father being in their life that whole time. They went through hell, just like I did being in prison.
I can understand.
You know what I mean? And for you to come and say you actually committed that crime, I commend you of that. I can say thank you, but I'm not gonna say thank you. I done forgave you, but there's something that I can't forget. Just believe, y'all destroyed a whole lot of lives that day. As much as I paid for his weakness, he didn't do this to me. It was men much more powerful than Alonzo. Cops, prosecutors, DAs, judges. The justice system wronged me so much. I had to come out and try to make a change. My whole mission is to free as many people as I can before I leave this world.
Welcome, everybody. We have got a guest today that I'm really excited about introducing to you, David Alvarado. And David, welcome back to Denton, not
That's
just
right.
to Denton, but
Thank
back
you.
to Denton, right?
Yeah.
Just flew in this morning from New York.
That's right.
And back to Denton because why? Tell us why
Well,
Denton
yeah.
is not new territory for you.
I lived here for 5 years. I went to college at the University of North Texas and went to film school here. And so it's so cool to come back and, bring 2 feature films back to what kind of feels like my hometown.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Now, when was school? Give us an idea of time.
2004 to 2007 is when I graduated.
And then after 7, you moved on?
Well, I
or?
worked at the KERA, which is the PBS station here in Dallas, for a
Yes.
little bit, and then I got into graduate school in California and flew out there, lived there for a couple of years, and then moved to New York after that. But I've been coming back to Denton intermittently for Thin Line, which is obviously a great festival, and every now and then to see friends and things like that.
Yeah, well, good. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
And it's exciting. I've had the chance to explore a little bit about the 2 films that you're screening at Thin Line this year. Now, first of all, this is not your first Thin Line rodeo, is it?
No, I've shown 2 of my short films here in 2009, 2010, and then we showed, I think in 2015, it was my first feature, although we finished it in 2014, and we showed it at South by Southwest in March, and then we showed it here, I think, in 2015.
And that was The Immortals.
That was in The Immortalists, yeah. Yeah.
And that was also a science kind of based film.
So that's what we do. My production company, Structure Films, we do science content, basically interesting people doing interesting science and character portraits, but also stories. We follow people in their lives as they do some interesting things. And that was about these 2 scientists, credible PhD scientists who have this kind of incredible idea of reversing the process of aging. So in their minds, they think that if we could fully understand the process of aging, what if we could fully reverse it? If we could make people be 30 years old forever and thereby cut heart disease, cancer, all these things that kill everybody down and make people live younger and healthier. But then also, what are the consequences of that? I mean, is there going to be a downside? Probably.
Yeah, I remember seeing a film years and years ago with Robin Williams in it.
Yeah, which one was that?
It was the Centennial Man.
I don't think I saw that one.
And he had immortality.
Oh, okay.
But what he found out, consequence-wise, was everybody he loved kept dying.
Yeah, that's
and
actually
then he was left alone.
That's really that's the thing. It's kind of the same story as Dracula, in a way. Like it's this dark being who's immortal but has to see the world die around him constantly and just loses touch with reality that we as mortals typically understand life. But then part of the idea of these biogerontologists is, well, yeah, but if everybody had the same technology, then your loved ones wouldn't be dying of old age.
That's true.
They'd only die if there was a war, and then so there's less reason to have war because there's this chance to live indefinitely, a healthy life indefinitely.
I like the idea. That's for sure.
Would you
Especially
take it?
the older I get, it's sounding better and better.
Yeah,
but this year you're screening 2 films.
That's right.
One of which still has that science angle to it.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about your Bill Nye.
For sure. So Jason, who's my production partner and co-director, when we finished The Immortalists, we immediately started working on the next film. And the next film for us was just had to be about Bill Nye, the science guy. And for those who don't know, Bill Nye is this very funny educator who was very popular in the 1990s, from like 1994 to 1999. He had this TV show called Bill Nye, the Science Guy. And I watched it when I was a kid. I mean, I was living here in the Dallas area, and I would, go to Saturday morning cartoons, and I'd look for Bill Nye the Science Guy or this other guy named Beekman. He had this show called Beekman's World, and I just loved it. It was fun. It was interesting. I felt like I understood the scientific concepts that they were playing with, and it was just really inspiring. And so, it's been a really big pleasure for me as an adult to get to meet Bill Nye in person, and then to embed myself in his life for 2 years as we follow him on these adventures as he's trying to educate now adults, people who deny climate change or people who deny evolution as real science. He tries to engage them, and so it was a real pleasure to kind of hang out with my hero from when I was a kid.
that is really cool. I was reading up on him a little bit because I am an age bracket that missed Bill Nye.
Yeah.
And as I've studied up on him and visited with you and learned what he's all about. I'm kind of wishing he was around back then because I would have
Yeah.
paid attention
Maybe, yeah.
to a little bit more.
Well,
It's just that the part of my brain just sort of didn't work very well. So he might have been a great
It's never too late,
asset.
you know. I mean, even as an adult, I've watched some of his shows just to remember what they were like, and it was actually extremely fun. I mean, you can see his 1990s version of his TV show on Netflix right now, actually. So watch season 1 and season 2. You can kind
That's
of
a
get
great
an
idea. Maybe that is what I should do. So, but he really inspired this love of science for you, which has carried over into how you make films and what interests you as far as your topics.
It's true.
Yeah, so that's really good. And I'm sure we have an audience out there that knows who Bill Nye is. And now he's not going to be here tonight, right?
He's not going to be here for sure. I just texted him. I'm going to see if he can call in. He hasn't responded. We'll see. No promises.
So he might. Who knows?
Well,
but
people should still see the movie anyways.
Yeah.
You guys should come out.
It's a great. In fact, you can actually look around on your IMDb account if you want to just look up David's name, David Alvarado, and you can see what the Science Guy is all about if you're not familiar with him and not from that generation. But I have a feeling you're going to have a packed house tonight from the people that love him.
Yeah, for sure. The audiences have been great. I mean, we premiered this at South by Southwest. We just showed it in the San Francisco International Film Festival, and there was always standing ovations. We sold out crowds, and I think it just goes to show that people really love Bill, and people want to see more about who is the man behind the bow tie. And because he always wears this bow tie, that's his like little character. And so the film gives a unique, look at that part of his life.
Well, and teachers really love him.
Teachers love him. Yeah, well,
there's a generation of kids that have actually grown up with him in their science classroom.
Well, that's right. I mean, I'm on the older end of the millennial generation, so I watched it when it was just being broadcast, and then the millennials younger than me are typically watching him on VHS tapes in their middle school classrooms, and so I think that's where most people saw Bill.
Yeah, and he really has a passion for awakening
Yeah, for sure.
people to the logic of science, because a lot of what I was reading is, hey, there's an entire generation of people who have decided to just ignore it and say, nope, it's not real.
Yeah.
Even though science is clearly proving that it is. They're just, I would rather do my own thing and ignore this scientific thing that is actually unfolding right before my eyes.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I think one of the biggest problems that we could have as a society is not having a scientifically literate voting population. If it's going to be a successful democracy, people need to understand how science works. Not everybody has to be a scientist, but people also need to understand how civics works. People need to understand how clean water works. People need to understand all these things so that they can make informed decisions and vote a way that's beneficial for society at large. Scientific literacy should be up there as one of the tenets of a healthy, successful society, and Bill's always been promoting that.
That's really good. Now, you've got a second film in here.
That's right.
And now, Bill Nye airs tonight, 8
Yes.
o'clock at the Campus Theater,
8
right?
8 p.m. Campus Theater. It's free because Thin Line's amazing, so everybody should come out and watch it who can. And the second film is tomorrow night at 8:45, also at the Campus Theater. It's called True Conviction.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So, Dallas is my hometown. I was born in Oak Cliff, and it's actually a Dallas-based story, which is interesting. We just premiered it yesterday. I just flew in from New York because we premiered it at the Tribeca Film Festival. It's called True Conviction, and I guess the short pitch is that it's about these three amazing guys who were each wrongfully convicted for crimes they did not commit. They were eventually exonerated of those crimes, so they were set free. Apologies, we got the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Some of them spent 26 years, one of them spent 25 years, one of them spent 13 years in prison. They get released about 6-7 years ago, and we start to follow them with our cameras as they do this amazing thing, and that's really where our story begins, is where they decide to make a sort of citizens detective agency where they're going to go out and try to find other possibly wrongful convicted cases and try to free those people. And so through the course of filming over the last 5 years, they actually got somebody out. And so the film is like a chronicle of our 5 years with these guys.
What a great journey they're on, though. I mean, our audience was able to see the clip right before our show started, so you have an idea of what it's about. To me, the dramatic difference in the emotional ride that you're on when you're with Bill Nye versus when you're with the True Convictions. That's to me, that's what it's all about.
Totally.
I mean,
yeah.
the
It's
whole thing.
a story, where people can get emotionally engaged in what the characters are doing, and hopefully we give people really good access to that.
Yeah, David and I were talking before we got on the air about why do filmmakers like film festivals? I mean, for those of you who are not real activists or real engaged in this kind of a thing, it's really cool. I wasn't either until Thin Line was born, and in fact, you've got some history with Thin Line's birth, don't you?
Yeah, I was on the board of directors for the Texas filmmakers back when I was in college here, and I was a part of development of the initial Thin Line Film Festival. I guess 10 years now. I can't believe it's been 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, so I worked closely with Josh at that time, and it's been great watching Thin Line grow as I've moved on to other things.
Well, and of course, Josh Butler is who David is referring to, is the creator and founder of the festival. But why I mean, now you're a filmmaker. Now you're the big time filmmaker. Why do filmmakers like film festivals? What's it about?
Well, there's different types of film festivals, and one type is the Sundances and the South Bys, the places where what they say they have the markets. So when we have recently sold the Bill Nye film, and all the buyers that have the big dollars go to these festivals to watch it with crowds, to see how crowds respond. So at some level, it's sort of the business marketplace of independent films. But on another level, it's also a way to connect people to films before it gets released to the general public. And for us, that's really where Thin Line really shines. Is it's letting people see a sneak peek at a film like Bill Nye Science Guy before it's available on iTunes, before it's available in regular theaters. It's a sneak peek where they get this privileged special access to this really special project. And so to be here as a filmmaker and share that experience with a crowd of people, it's just a pleasure.
Well, and you used the term when we were visiting early, boutique film experience. I liked that because from a viewer's side, it really is that way.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in this intimate environment. You're watching a film that other people haven't seen. It's not out there in the public yet. And most of the time you're getting to meet and interact with the makers, with the filmmakers like you. You're here. You're going to be there when your film screens.
Right.
People are going to be able to raise their hand and ask you questions. That's just a really cool thing.
Yeah, totally.
And like I said, I didn't really know about film festivals, had never experienced one until Thin Line was born, but I've never missed a Thin Line in the last 10 years.
That's great. Yeah, it's important to support your local film festivals too, because I know how hard it is to put this kind of thing together, and it's actually beneficial for the community, not just in like everybody having a good time, but also it helps the economy locally in some small way.
Oh yeah,
and so
actually big ways.
Big ways, yeah. and I mean, compared to like the university brings in like a lot of money.
Yeah.
These kind of things are important to the local economy, so coming out and supporting them is super important.
Oh yeah, and Denton's entire identity is built on original independent, and this flavor of art, if you will, is perfectly in line with that original independent, because that's what it's all about.
Totally.
Seeing the world through somebody else's eyes.
That's right. Well,
artist's eyes.
And just to go back with where we started, I mean, again, it's just really cool to come back. Thin Line has a special place in my heart because this is, I grew up in Dallas, and we moved around the suburbs, and I never really felt at home anywhere. And when I came to college and I sort of felt the sort of vibe that Denton has, I kind of always felt like this is the first time where I felt like I found a home. And so it's just really cool to be out in the world making films, and then always get the opportunity to come back and share it with what I feel is my hometown.
I love that. We hear that from a lot of students, and being able to share in that talent and to share in your successes after you've moved on is really, really incredible thing for our city.
Oh, cool.
It's one of the things that makes us rich, people. Listen, before we wind up, I want to let you know, if you haven't already picked up your guide for Thin Line, it's available all over downtown area. You can find them. The festival is free. You do need to know there's supposed to be some weather moving in tonight, so some of the venues have changed for tonight only. The outdoor screenings that are promoted for tonight that were supposed to be taking place at the Travelstead field right off of Hickory Street, those have been moved indoors to the Patterson-Appleton Arts Center, where the Greater Denton Arts Council is located. And also, it is possible that the biographies, who are supposed to be playing on the square stage this evening, depending on the weather and what's happening at that time, they may move into Andy's Bar. You can find out on the Facebook page for Thin Line Festival exactly what changes are going on as they evolve. But starting tomorrow morning, beautiful weather for the rest of the event, photography shows, concerts, live music, and of course, the Heartbeat, the films, through Sunday night. Thanks for joining us. And thank you, David, for being here.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out DentonRadio.com to find new Denton artists and where they're playing next. While you're there, check out the rest of Discover Denton to find restaurants, hotels, and tons of great community events.